Mystery ecology, for me, began when I asked the question, where will Bigfoot go when the trees are all gone? For that matter, what will the Loch Ness Monster do if the Loch Ness becomes too polluted for it to survive? What happens when cryptozoological species go extinct because of man-made natural disaster? My concern was that we were losing something more than just the sort of natural habitat and fauna and flora that we know of. We were losing these mysterious potentialities. In losing these potentialities, we weren't just losing a creature that might exist, but we don't know if it does. We were losing possibility. We were losing the human capacity to imagine possibility. If we penetrate too deeply into the wild, whether it's through technology or pollution or just the kind of devastation of the land for the purposes of building more civilization, where does mystery go? Does it disappear like the elves supposedly disappeared, and according to many fictions, or does it just go extinct like wild animals that most people have never heard of or seen, maybe even in a zoo? Does it matter? I felt like it was possible that we could speak about ecology in a different way if we could acknowledge that there is an element of mystery that is critical to our environment, and that in the act of destroying our environment, we are destroying something internal. Now, in some ways, this brings us not just into the realm of cryptozoology, but it also brings us into the realm of land-based spirituality, recognizing that throughout the earth, most people had some sense that there was an animistic presence in the earth, that our spirit, our gods, our energies existed in a living manifest form in nature. I think that it's human nature to see nature as a living, conscious being, but it goes against our civilized, rational minds to acknowledge it to be so. And if we don't acknowledge it to be so, really what purpose do we have for saving the earth? If it's really just survival, well, maybe we can build a gigantic bubble in the space station and we can escape. We don't have to deal with the consequences. But I would argue that if there is a conversation or a dialogue with the divine that we engage in when we let nature run its course and be, then what we're losing is our telephone to God, our direct communication with Mother Earth. I think that there is something deeply frightening about destroying this earth. More than just our own mortality, we're losing an actual pathway to our divine self. Now, these ideas aren't particularly new. In fact, I would argue that within the realm of the ecological movement, the environmental movement, there has always been hints or suggestions of the sublime. But I think it's often tempered in order to actually argue the point. And that is a mistake, because really what most people experience in the woods is not ecosystems, not temperatures, not quantitative things, but a quality of experience that is awesome. So my wish with mystery ecology is to begin creating language to describe that which we don't know, but that which we experience nonetheless. With that in mind, the essay that I'm about to present to you begins a three-part discussion of one facet of this broad field that is mystery ecology. What I begin with is a series of videos that speak to the forest as a temple of mystery. The forest is a location of the unknown, of our deepest fears, and thus a projection for our deepest hopes and desires. In the forest exists any manner of creature that we can imagine, because we will never know the very depths of that forest. And yet we're alienated and afraid of that forest. In some ways, that's the history of America, the taming of the wild in ourselves by the taming of the wild in the world. But in other ways, it's also something we pretend isn't there, like a closet door that's just a little too ajar for a 5-year-old to fall asleep without being afraid. I would suggest that it's time for us to step into the woods a little deeper. Now, whether these woods actually contain mythical creatures or simply a spirit or animus, scientists would really not be concerned with this question. But I would say that many of us have already asked this question and answered it for ourselves. For people who engage in the forest, both Aboriginal people from all around the world and people who are fighting to save the forest, the answer is really clear. There is a living spirit that speaks to them in that forest, and it is critical to their defense of that forest that they can name that spirit. In order to actually incorporate this information and still deal with the fact that we are coming from a civilized, and when I say civilized, I mean that in the sense that a created, manifested sphere of existence, that we're coming from a civilized place, we have to find a way to re-enter into nature. And we can't do that by ignoring our past. We can only do that by integrating our sense of self, our current cultures, our current languages, our current aesthetics, with a sense of a past that we may never have known. And so the third part of our essay speaks to this idea of a past that we never experienced, but maybe we can manifest by merging and synthesizing it with our current, with what is vital, spiritual, and erotic about our present now. So let this essay hopefully be an opening salvo into an ongoing discussion about what it means to lose this earth, if we are in fact on the course to doing so.